I would say one of the things actually is that, we talked about Shopify and we talked about Agentic, but we didn't mention that the foundation of ensuring that you are set up for Agentic Commerce is making sure you're on Shopify. So Shopify brands have that mapping out of the box done for them, which is incredibly powerful. If you are not on Shopify yet as a brand, you need to move to Shopify ASAP.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Coffee Break podcast. Most Shopify stores don't have a traffic problem, they have a revenue leak problem. Brands are spending more on ads, getting more clicks, but not seeing the growth they expect. At the same time, the game is changing fast. With Agentic Commerce, AI tools are starting to decide what's to get seen and what gets bought. Also, small gaps in your funnel, your product pages, your data, your UX quietly kills conversions. So today we're breaking down where these leaks happen and what to fix first. I'm joined by David Conforti. He is the Chief Growth Officer at Avenue Z. He is an e-commerce builder and former co-founder of a Shopify-focused studio and has led CRO-driven builds for brands like Mosh, Kind Patches, and Bandolier, turning attention into real durable revenue. David, great to have you on the show.
Awesome. Likewise. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, let's dive into it. Why do so many Shopify stores leak revenue right now?
Yeah, I think that, brands have so many different priorities, and oftentimes what we see is that brands that are growing very quickly, you mature from a brand doing 0 figures in revenue to a brand doing 7 figures in revenue to then 8, so on and so forth very quickly. And so the site that you stand up on Shopify is oftentimes one of the templates you pull off the shelf, and then it just is something that is legacy, right? And so we're going through this with a couple of our brands right now, like Kind Patches, for instance, doing the revamp their Shopify instance to be more of that enterprise tool that they need, where it's really more of a driver of their growth as opposed to an inhibitor of their growth. So I think that when you see why some of these well-known direct-to-consumer companies don't have a great Shopify presence and why they're leaking revenue, it's just because they've grown so fast, and it is something that gets pushed to the wayside. But it's very important because, like you said, you can just manufacture dollars out of thin air.
Yeah. So we want to touch on different things there that basically can create leaks or have created leaks for brands. And the big topic, the 1,000-pound gorilla, is obviously AI and agentic commerce. Now, for our listeners who might have heard the term but do not really know what it is, can you explain what agentic commerce actually stands for?
Sure. So agentic commerce basically has two different points right now. When people say agentic commerce, they mean one, showing up in the chat box. So this is showing up in ChatGPT or Gemini, Grok, etc. Or the second one is actually, which is the future of agentic, is having agents make purchases on customers' behalf. So right now, the phase one is you are searching for a toothbrush and you're asking about what the best toothbrush is and your different demographics, different price points, et cetera. And it's ChatGPT is surfacing options to you. But then in the future, you will just say, okay, here's my parameters, go check out, and I want a toothbrush to show up at my doorstep. And that is really where agentic is going to go in the future.
Now, obviously, huge changes going on there. You mentioned ChatGPT. They're becoming the new gatekeepers for shopping. What most people are wondering right now is how can they be part of it? So what does it mean to sell to AI first?
Absolutely. This is something that is changing incredibly rapidly. So as a Shopify Platinum partner, we work very closely with the new product teams at Shopify. And it's literally changing week by week. We're constantly trying to ingest all the new information that they're developing. So here's the latest and greatest. And it might even be different by the time this episode rolls out. But it is that you basically need to focus on the product catalog for agentic commerce. And then you need to focus on traditional PR and SEO. So it's funny, those things have actually gone from maybe being obsolete to now incredibly relevant again. So let's talk a little bit about the different components and what those do for your agentic setup. So essentially, you need to show up in the ChatGPT searches and then ensure that people can check out from the ChatGPT searches. Why that's so important, and even more important than it was in Google, is that ChatGPT yields 1 to 3 results. They don't give a list of 10 links. So if you're not in the top 3, you are irrelevant. You might as well be 100. So PR and SEO are really the traditional places that these LLMs are searching for trusted sources. So for instance, they're going to Forbes, they're going to Reddit, they are going to Wirecutter, all of these things. So your PR push is very important, that you are showing up on these lists that talk about the top 10 toothbrushes top 10 toothbrushes for X problem. These are super important because that's how the AI is going to index and then show you in these searches. So then once you're being shown, then the product catalog comes into play. And this is where Shopify is really pushing the frontier. And it is, you want to make sure that your catalog is being indexed with all the different variants or product groupings so that folks that are in ChatGPT, the customers can navigate just within the platform, view the correct variant, and then click on the link, which opens up the PDP and check out. That's something that's changed recently, is that they were going to do embedded checkout in ChatGPT. That's no longer the case. It's now going to the product page. So that's a big win in terms of CRO and ownership for the merchants, because they will get more data and all of these things. Owning the transaction is just better at the end of the day. So that's where we've been working with our merchants to really push their product catalog mapping in Shopify, their knowledge base in Shopify, which is basically the FAQs for products and a brand. So if people are searching, oh, what's the return policy like? How long does it take to ship? Different use cases for a product. That is where a brand can upload those in the knowledge base and make sure that the agent is pulling relative data. Again, product catalog mapping, the knowledge base, and then your SEO and PR strategy. And if you have all of those three really tight, then you are going to be on the forefront of agentic commerce.
It's kind of interesting. We're going so basically full circle there. So as you said, the PR work was sort of sidelined at some point, and now it's coming back into the picture and becoming more important. Now, how do brands struggle to get this shift done? Because there's a lot of uncertainty there. It's like, how do I optimize my text for geo, for AEO, and so on and so forth? What makes it so difficult for a brand to focus on these optimization parts in their business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough. Resources are limited at all of these brands. That's where partners like Avenue Z come in, and why it's such a compelling offering is because we are that full funnel partner for brands. Mm-hmm. And the brands that are very successful are very lean and nimble teams. We can be only a headcount of 10 people doing 9 figures in revenue and leaning on a suite of partners. So I think that why people may not be prioritizing it off the bat is just, it's another surface area to manage and optimize. Which is it's very important, but yeah, it needs to make its way to the top of the priority list. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's very important to be on that train right now, because if you don't starting now, you will be left out very quickly. Another term that comes up quite often is Universal Commercial Protocol. Something new, something from Google. Can you tell us something about this?
Sure. That's just the protocol that Shopify and Google co-developed to ensure that products are being surfaced, and then in the future, checkout can be processed through these rails. So I'm excited to get to the point where agents are going to be doing the shopping, and the checkout is going to be taking place maybe in the background or automatically or embedded in these systems. And UCP will be helping with all of that.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the leads, in the past, conversion rate optimization was a big thing. Product detail page optimization was a big thing. Is that something that still matters, or will AI basically overrule all of this?
Hugely. So the thing that we're seeing right now is there's 2 things that are really impacting this. There is one, AI, but then also the second one is TikTok. And those 2 things are actually making your website more important than ever. With AI, we see a lot of people are doing their browsing and research via these platforms, but not purchasing there. They're actually going to site to purchase. And that's how Shopify is treating ChatGPT right now, is actually a referral source, which is interesting in your analytics, whereas like Gemini and some of the others are a sales channels. We can dive into more of that later, but a little non sequitur. So we're seeing a ton of halo effects where customers are actually going to your .com after researching you on these AI platforms. And so you have to make sure that your homepage is incredibly relevant and optimized, as well as collection and PDP, because that's where those customers are going after learning about you on chat. Then next is TikTok. So TikTok is, and this is some of the interesting insights we have from being that full funnel partner that's running marketing and on site, is that we see whenever we push TikTok spend up, you immediately see a spike in homepage traffic and also revenue. These are our customers that are really high intent. So it's super interesting. You would think like with TikTok Shop and Agentic that there would be some negative pressure on your .com experience, but it's actually quite the opposite. It makes it really more important than ever to be, as a brand, you have to be maintaining and paying attention to your full ecosystem.
Yeah, it's sort of a flywheel, I think. You need to be busy on all of these parts to make it work because they all interact with each other. Now, at AVZ, you are a full service agency and you're one of the very few ones that have reached the highest level of Shopify partners there. Tell me, how do you approach a new client that's coming to you? What do you look for and what's your step-by-step process to get them up to speed?
Yeah. So, like you said, we're a Shopify Platinum partner. That's one of 36 in the country, which is a great distinction, but only about one of three that have the full marketing and CRO and retention offering. So when a client first comes in, we're monitoring and auditing all of these surface areas. We want to understand where your opportunities are, because if you just pay attention to one platform specifically, you might be missing the larger picture. And this is something that I used to own my CRO agency called Barfi, and we sold to Avenue Z. And the reason we sold was because we felt like we were missing something by just doing the on-site experience. We were missing so many insights and important parts of that flywheel that you're talking about, that really in the future, brands need partners that have that full purview in order to effectively consult and grow. So we're auditing all those different ecosystems and platforms, and then understanding how they in between the two. And we call it the metric on fire. Like, where is the platform or the metric on fire for brands? We dive in deep there.
Okay. Now, if a brand feels stuck, what should they do first? Should they try to optimize on their own or immediately find a partner? What's your recommendation?
I think there's a ton that brands can be doing on their own. Like, you really can get out there. You can be very aggressive with TikTok and TikTok shops. I would say that is probably, if I had to start building a brand from zero now, that's where I would really start. And then making sure, of course, like I said, it's all connected. So you need a Shopify store is the primitive for this. You need that foundation, but then really pushing marketing on TikTok shop, take that content, then start running it on Meta ads. Make sure you have Google tightened up as well. Because even though all this talk about agentic, people are still going to Google, and high intent purchases are happening there. So you don't want to lose that. I think that a new brand can make a lot of traction there before even worrying about agentic. So that will be, kind of their nth degree optimization if you were starting from zero.
Now, Shopify obviously is one of the best platforms out there, and we're biased. I had a store for 7 years. You're coming from that world. Shopify itself, they're doing a lot in regards to AI. There's Shopify Kickstart, and they're adding more and more tools. What's your take on the sort of ecosphere of what Shopify is building there when it comes to AI?
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. I think that the Shopify stock has gotten hammered recently because people aren't thinking it's like an AI stock. They think that it has negative pressure from that technology, but I feel quite the opposite. I think that nobody is going to vibe code their own payment processor or e-commerce platform. It's like kind of absurd when you think about it that way. So in that case, AI is going to be embedded all over this product. You mentioned Sidekick. That's a great use case. I'd caveat that I don't think the Sidekick product is very good right now. It still hallucinates a lot, still doesn't really know its own data tables and syntax. That being said, you can absolutely see where the vision is going with that. And it's going to be incredibly powerful for merchants that are just starting out, which I think is cool that Shopify hasn't lost its ethos of trying to cater to the small entrepreneur. They're still building tools for them. For instance, I don't think that large enterprises will be really using Sidekick all that much yet, but although, maybe in the future. But so that is a big, I would say, tailwind for Shopify. And then the second piece is, if you just look at the competitor landscape, I don't think that you have a compelling competitor that's really as AI forward as Shopify, that's investing as much in the platform. Salesforce Commerce, Adobe Commerce, BigCommerce. BigCommerce is going to be taken private any day now. It's just hemorrhaging market cap. So I think that Shopify is really well positioned on the front of the AI wave, and I'm excited to ride it with them.
No, I would agree. And I like that you highlight that Shopify has not lost traction on where they came from, the small, medium enterprise business. Obviously, they're adding B2B platform features all the time, but it's a whole range, and they're definitely on the forefront of what's happening in e-commerce. So could you share some success stories or case studies of businesses that you helped with and what kind of results they have seen?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind Patches is probably one of the first ones that comes to mind. It's a very exciting business out of Sweden originally, and they came to us doing about $1 million a month give or take. And then very quickly in the past 9 months, we've scaled them to doing $7 to $8 million routinely. And that is still scaling. So that's been really exciting to work with that company, be that full funnel partner for them. And we run everything from, their Meta, Google, on-site CRO, retention, et cetera. So it's really powerful when you have a partner that has all of those insights to different platforms, and we can create a cohesive strategy that helps the brand scale, stay consistent to the brands, stay true, and hit the targets. That's been a ton of fun too, in terms of learning from their team about what pace looks like. You've never seen a brand that's worked this fast, done this many things, grown this quickly. It's pretty incredible. And that is, I also love when we can learn from clients. The founder, Magnus, is a brilliant businessman, and he comes to Miami quite regularly. We really hit it off, and he teaches me a ton about how to run an organization at scale and with serious speed. And the proof is in the pudding. They're probably the fastest growing brand in America right now.
Yeah, I think that's a prerequisite to be fast, to show growth like that. I mean, that's amazing numbers that you just mentioned there. And you need to be fast in the market of e-commerce. I mean, that's for our listeners, is if you're slow, AI will overtake you, and then you have a problem. Now, who's your perfect customer? What kind of brands do you work with?
Yeah, we really love the brands that want a full partnership. So that's what we're looking for. People that want to lean in. They feel like they're going to get a ton of value from having one partner that can be doing acquisition, conversion, and retention. And that's what really makes a great partnership, is moving fast, trusting one another. That's kind of the vibe that we look for. And then in terms of demographics, we are industry agnostic. We have clients across health, beauty, supplements, fashion, apparel, digital goods and services. So you name it, we've done it. But we really enjoy taking those brands that are maybe just starting out or doing like low 7 figures of revenue, and then just rocketing up from there. That's really the ideal client for us.
Okay. Walk me through the typical onboarding process of a new customers of yours. What steps are involved? How long does it take to get up and running?
Yeah, it usually takes about, I would say, anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. We have a really great process here at Avenue Z that helps the merchant feel like they're guided and they have a good partner here that's done this before. So that's something that we really pride ourselves on, as being process oriented. And as we get on board, we start the intake form, and then we go in and, like I said, audit every surface area that you are on. There's a ton of things as well that merchants probably aren't thinking of, or just hasn't been a priority for them. Things like the shop app, things like how are your fulfillment notifications working? Are they branded? Are they high quality? These are the little things that we just have a playbook to, like, you're a client of ours. Here's the playbook. Here's what we're going to do for you right off the bat. And then again, we go back to that metric on fire. I actually took that from one of our new team members. So we just recently hired his name's Alex Zamora. He was the director of Ecommerce, marketing, and retention at True Classic, which is a D2C darling, doing many, many 9 figures in revenue. And that's how he always looks at things. He goes, what is my metric on fire? So we've been taking that, and we just are looking at every parts of the business as to, where we can improve those.
I like this approach to literally surgical dissect the whole business and find the leaks, then just fix them step by step, and then you automatically increase the revenue. Before our coffee breaks come to an end today, is there anything you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
I would say one of the things actually is that, we talked about Shopify and we talked about Agentic, but we didn't mention that the foundation of ensuring that you are set up for Agentic Commerce is making sure you're on Shopify. So Shopify brands have that mapping out of the box done for them, which is incredibly powerful. If you are not on Shopify yet as a brand, you need to move to Shopify ASAP. We have a migration assessment actually you can take on the site, and we can share it in the show notes after, but that is just a foundational level. You need to get on the platform because it's growing so quickly and maturing from under you, right? So it's like a rising tide lifts all ships situation.
True.
So that's step one.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think, and you mentioned it very well, Shopify is the place to be with this fast moving environment that we are in. And I totally agree with you. I don't see any other platform right now moving that fast. So yeah, Shopify, the place to be. Where can people go and find out more about you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We can just go to avenuez.com and check us out there. Also very active on LinkedIn, David Conforti. But yeah, I really appreciate having me, Klaus.
Cool. I will put the links in the show notes as always, and I hope a lot of our listeners will reach out to you and hopefully jump on the ship of getting their site optimized, their business optimized, and then being on the forefront of what's happening in AI and e-commerce. David, thanks so much for your time today. Keep me updated and talk soon.
Fantastic. Appreciate it.